Yo, hey guys, it's Beast, back with some more beastly content. Today I'm going to be doing a bit of a Phase 2 prep guide, I do suppose. So this is pretty much everything you can be doing in Phase 1 to actually get prepared for Phase 2 of the Way of Winter. So with the new update out, there is a couple different things you can be doing now. There's a couple different things that you can just already do, and things you should already have been getting done. So we're going to go ahead and start with the first things first. So while you're waiting, you might as well get your vendor cap max. Now, I'm going to go ahead and cover you the easiest way of capping your vendor in Phase 1 of the game. Now, some people will say, oh, go get silver ingots and all that, but nah, don't even worry about that. So as long as you've been playing the game for a while and you got some T points, especially if you got an alt, if you don't, well, you have a little less T points, but regardless, all I did was transfer in blueberry seeds. Now, here's the other thing. You can actually farm blueberry seeds in Way of Winter super duper easily, actually. So pretty much, I'm going to show you a general area, but if you go to the Frostforge teleport tower, there's actually a ton of blueberry seeds around this area, but there's actually another area that I actually like to go to. So just outside of the Broken Bridge, this entire field here is a blueberry field. So you can actually go here and farm a ton of blueberry seeds up right here. You can also go into the market or ask in the chat if anybody has a gardener's glove. I'm going to go ahead and show you what I'm using right now. I've got a gardener's glove and I've got a chef's knife. These two are very key items you're going to want to pick up by your, towards the end of Phase 1. This will make everything a lot easier. This will make a couple different things easier. So first of all, you're going to need to get cold resist and heat resist hides for your gear. You're going to want some just sitting there stacked waiting for when you're making tier 5 gear, and you're going to want a tier 3 set and a tier 3 set for the cold and the heat. Now, when I say set, it's really just the chest and the pants that actually provide a heat or cold resist boost. So you're only going to need to make 2 sets of chest and 2 sets of pants, one being a cold set, one being a hot set. Here's another nice little tip for you if you want to do this. You can hit H on the save button, at least if you're on PC. I'm assuming there's still loadouts on mobile. There should be. It's probably just a different button somewhere. You can actually go through and save a preset and save the current armor that you have, and then all you have to do is just click one of your presets and you'll actually be able to swap back to that armor. So once we're actually using tier 5 and we actually are in the Phase 2, I'm going to set up a preset for cold and a preset for hot gear, and I'm going to cover exactly where to get the food ingredients too that you're actually needing for to make the stews, and I'm also going to cover where to get the 2 hides. That's very, very important. I'm also going to show you some farms you can be doing. One, you can be running tree ant. I was just running tree ant. The server was really, everybody seems to run tree ant during Phase 1 Way of Winter, which does work because it gives a ton of different stuff. It gives electronic parts. You can get the tar pudding deviation. The tar pudding deviation will passively generate mixed fuel. Very, very helpful there. But there's some other stuff that I also want to cover in Way of Winter. So without further ado, I suppose we'll start with the first thing. Like I said, getting your vendors capped. All you gotta do is transfer in some blueberry seeds. Another thing to note on is I actually have on one of my alts, I've transferred in a ton, and I don't know if I have any of the materials not over here. So I've actually transferred in a ton of the spoiled food on one of my alts. Now, not this character. So one of my alts has like 6,000 spoiled food or something. And since I am a 16-man, 1-man, so I have a ton of alts, every single alt plot is going to be getting the maximum number of plots, because blueberries actually just grow straight out of Lumi soil. So literally just throw a bunch of Lumi soil down, transfer in one grow shroom and some blueberries. You'll have a ton of blueberries being crafted up, and then all you need to do is get yourself a furnace and you can craft yourself some glass. Now, there are actually 2 specific perks that will actually help you out here. So if you get the centering perk, it'll make centering brick and glass crafting time yield a time -50 and yield +100, and then you can actually get the efficiency lover perk, which gives you crafting time -60%. So that's a total of -110% on glass and centering brick, which means it's actually an instant smelt. So another trick I want to go ahead and mention, and I'll have just like a clip playing on now. I actually transferred it on another alt. I transferred in just a drill and some really good items like the anti-gravity milkshake, movement items, things like that, and a canned seafood, of course, and was actually able to get like 60 or 70,000 gravel within like a 40-minute period. I used that to actually get that character to level 15. That's another thing. While we are covering solo play, I also want to help out the people who do have alts here's another thing to be working on in Phase 1 if you're playing with alts. So you actually want to level all of your alts up to at least level 15, because the first 3 perks on a nomadic, and this is kind of like a wider range for, you know, any scenario thing. The first 3 perks on your nomadic specialization can actually be a disassembly advantage perk of either careful disassembly, or I do believe it's electronics disassembly. But regardless, 2 perk disassemblies are very sought after. Everyone will be asking for them. You can technically charge EL to place them down for people just because they are so rare. But anybody who's using an alt needs to be leveling all their alts up at least to level 15. The easiest way to do this is to run through the tutorial and just clear your commissions. That will get you to level 10 super duper easy. And then you could either go to your furnace and smelt glass up, or do something like that. And the reason why we're crafting glass actually is in the nomadic specialization. The reason why we're doing blueberries as well is because if you unlock dishes 1, or not dishes 1, I think it might even just be stoves. No, it's dishes 2. So you have to unlock dishes 2. I think it's like 300 EL total and like 3 nomadic points. You can actually craft blueberry sodas, and a stack of these is actually 1,000 XP. So you can get 1,000 or something like that. Regardless, I know it's a good amount, and I know it's like a few stoves can be like 50,000 XP super duper quickly. But you just wait for the blueberries to grow. They grow hourly, and then you can turn them into blueberry sodas, and you can passively level through that. That's a really good way of leveling, and it also gives you blueberry sodas. And a stack of these is actually worth 4.5k EL. So this is actually how I'm gonna start working on my vendor cap. That's another thing. You're gonna want to get some EL stacked up, because once you reach Phase 2, you're gonna be making your tier 5 gear, and you're gonna need EL to make all of your gear and even your guns. So I'm gonna get my cap maxed out, and then I guess we're gonna get on into the hides. Alrighty, so just before we actually head on into the Hive's farm, I wanted to cover one other thing, and that is actually spike tomatoes. So with my vendor caps max now, you actually want to go ahead and gather spike tomatoes within your first phase. This is just the easiest way to get yourself some sort of temperature boosting item. And while spike tomato can be found anywhere, my go-to spot when I just need some quick spike tomatoes is actually the Greenfield teleport tower. Now just a little bit down the road from here, and I really do need to handle my overweight issue before we go get our hides, is actually just right here. So as you can see here, spike tomatoes right here, also on the other side of the road. Right over there is really where the field is. There's a ton of spike tomatoes over there, but you just need to gather a couple spike tomatoes, and you need to do one more thing, and I'm gonna go ahead and tell you what that one more thing is. We're actually not even gonna be doing it ourselves here, because we don't need to, and we're gonna just use the guardrail there to protect ourselves and get over here. So all you really need to do is take yourselves to Camp Igloo now, and go directly behind Camp Igloo and gather some of that water, because the water directly behind Camp Igloo, all this water right here is actually salt water. And what salt water can, it's seawater really, but seawater can actually be turned into salt in the stove. And the only thing to make a salty spike tomato, which let me go ahead and show you that right here, this is a salty spike tomato, code resist by 10. The easiest way to make one of these, and the only way to make one of these, is just a spike tomato and some salt. So all you gotta do is go get some seawater behind Camp Igloo, go gather yourself some spike tomatoes, and you'll be able to make yourself some salty spike tomatoes. Super duper easy, no problem. Might want to get a fridge so you can throw them in there, because you can use those for the entirety of Phase 1. The other item that's actually gonna help you with resisting the cold is helium, and all it requires is charcoal and thermium. And thermium is just a rock, and all it requires is some gravel to craft. Now I don't actually need to craft one because we have 2 already. As you can see here though, it's only 20 gravel to craft the thermium. Then when you craft the thermium, you can make yourself a helium. Takes 30 seconds and it lasts for 1 hour. So we're gonna craft ourselves a helium, and we have ourselves the salty spike tomatoes just as a base before we go do any hide farming. We don't really need to worry about any other hides besides these 2. This is going to get you through the entire rest of Way of Winter for these next 2 hides I'm about to show you. Super duper easy farm location. It's actually the same location for both of the hides. It's absolutely OP. This is how you pro mode Way of Winter right here. So I'll see you in just a second when we're at the farm location. Alrighty, so the next location we're actually going to be going to is Wishland East. And well, the way I always like to get here is actually Ocean View Teleport Tower. So another nice thing about the Way of Winter update, the latest update here, is that there's a Chaosium hub just beside this tower. So if you don't actually have the teleport tower unlocked, or even ice camp, you can get there super easily just by using the Chaosium hub right here. I'm going to use this teleport tower here, and then I'm going to show you the route that we normally take. Alrighty, and now that we are at the teleport tower, all that we're going to do is make ourselves up all the way up this road, and we're going to make ourselves all the way into Wishland. Alrighty, and now that we're actually going into Wishland here, we're going to try and use this clamshell to go ahead and hop on over here. So on the stage right here is actually where the first hide is going to be collected. I don't even know if I brought bullets, so hopefully we have a melee. Yeah, we might be beating these guys up with our fist. Or maybe we'll attack them with a drill. Regardless, I might have to go get ammo. Trusty torch it is, because I don't know how to bring ammo. So as you can see here, this is where the flamingos are actually at, and you're just gonna go through and you're gonna go ahead and just kill all the flamingos that are here, and then I'm gonna show you where the crocodiles are. I think we're literally just gonna YOLO it and go in this area with the torch only, because we're just after the hides anyway. I will come back with some ammo later and actually get this farmed up. What we're getting here from the flamingos actually is feathers, and I will see you when we're at the crocodiles. Alrighty, so we're pretty much done with the flamingos. I just want to show you real quickly how to actually get to where we're trying to go now. So you see this little crown looking thing right back here? This is actually where you're trying to go. So we're just gonna hop down from here. Back there's where the stage is, and we're just hopping all the way to over here. And then we're gonna make our way down into here. There's also a little guy you can get over here for some more Starcrom. Scenic viewpoint, bang. But we're gonna make our way down into this tunnel, and once we're far enough in, I'm actually gonna show you which way to go to actually get your hides farmed up. Alrighty, so we're pretty much where it's going to be at. So we're in this little room here, and as you can see here, Toy 2 Play here is actually the doorway we're actually looking for. So just beyond this doorway, while there's also some loot to get here, there's a ton of crocodiles that are actually going to be in here. And you know, using this torch with the mods I have currently, with all the elemental damage boost, I feel like someone could actually do a pretty decent torch build that might actually be able to clear, I don't know, some pro level ads or something. And I kind of want to try a torch build one day. But for now, we are here for crocodile hides. And like I said, this is the best spot to get crocodile hides. Crocodile hides are great for heat resist armor. They actually are one of the best heat resist types of armor you can get in the game. Now I'm thinking you can actually get the rare crocodile hides from these guys as well, so you can just continuously farm these guys over and over for your crocodile hide. You can farm this as many times as you want. You can include this in your point of interest runs. I highly suggest doing Wishland as a point of interest run for your phase 1. But with that, that is both hides. Now you're just gonna make yourselves back up the stairs now, and take yourself all the way back to the flamingos. Now the best thing that I suggest doing, especially if you're playing on Starfall Inversion, because you can teleport anywhere now to any teleport tower, is just make your way back to that teleport tower, change the world, and go do it again. I'm actually just gonna go ahead and do that, and you know, get some velvet farmed up here now, and then we'll get on to the next thing. Alrighty, and one final note on the velvet. You do have to craft it in the supplies bench. If it's not showing in your supplies bench to actually craft, what you're actually going to need to do is unlock the leather working perk in the supplies bench. So as you can see now, we do have the leather working perk unlocked, and we can craft the velvet. So without further ado, I do suppose I'm just going to show you some last minute things. So first things first, there's a few seeds that you're actually going to want to go ahead and get yourselves acquired for a very specific reason. So there's actually a dish that it's unlocked further on in the nomadic stages, when you actually reach phase 2, that it's for the all-weather stew. And what this actually does is give you a plus 30 cold and heat resist, and I do believe it makes it where you can't get hypothermia or like what's the other one, heat stroke, when you actually consume it. So it's a very important dish to have in phase 2, because as you know, phase 2 the weather's actually going to get even worse. So you want to get these 4 seeds gathered up here now. So it's sunny ginger, it's spike mato seeds, it's mint, and it's ice melon. Now I showed you earlier where spike mato was. Sunny ginger and mint is kind of all over the place, honestly, but the easiest place to get sunny ginger and mint in the same location is actually going to be Camp Igloo. This is a super duper easy spot to pick yourselves up some mint and some sunny ginger seeds. You can go here, it's right here just outside of the field of Camp Igloo. There's a ton of sunny ginger and mint you can harvest there. I did show you right here, Greenfield Teleportation Tower is a great choice for spike matos. There are plenty of places that have a ton of spike matos. There are plenty of places with mint, and there are plenty of places with sunny ginger. On to ice melons, however, and here's a great thing. We actually do have all locations unlocked. So if you want to try and farm, and here's the thing, we're at a volcanic storm level 2 over there. We probably don't want to go there because we don't really have anything. We don't even have our hides put together. Once we get the croc hide armor built, we might actually try and go over that way. Over here, there's actually like near the teleport tower near the Sunshroud Cave over here actually has a decent amount of ice melons. But if you're looking for an area and the only thing you have is cold resist gear built up, Frost Forge is actually a great option to go ahead and get yourself some ice melon seeds farmed up. Now, you're not going to be getting a ton from this farm location, but this is a great phase 1 location, especially if in the future when this Way of Winter update is actually an official release. It turns out that a lot of the areas that are unlocked in our phase 1 aren't even supposed to be unlocked, because I really do have that feeling, because I don't see why they're unlocked. So we're going to go ahead and consume a salty spike tomato just in case. I don't really think we need it. As you can see here, there are actually spike tomatoes here as well. I was thinking there was like one other crop here. The other thing is, like I mentioned earlier, this is a great blueberry farm location, but mainly you just got to run down this hill, and if you get far enough down, there are actually ice melons that are going to be spawning, and I'm actually going to show you what they look like right here. So ice melon, we do have ourselves the gardener's glove. Now technically you only need to get like one seed. That's another seed that's actually a really good seed to go ahead and get bulked up on is coneflower, because coneflower is actually used to make breeding boost fertilizer. And what breeding boost fertilizer actually does, if you do not know, and most of you might know this already, is that breeding boost fertilizer actually allows you to take one seed and turn it into 3 every single time it finishes growing. Super duper easily, and as you can see there, we did just get 2 ice melons there, still no seeds. So it does take a minute to farm this area, but the ice melons will respawn. You can kind of just run up and down this hill and gather ice melons. They kind of spawn in the same spot every time, so once you figure out their spawns, I haven't done this in a minute, once you figure out their spawns, you can actually get them a lot easier. So as you can see here, those spike tomato seeds, 59. We do already have our spike tomato seeds, pretty decent. I think we're doing decent on mint. I was not sure what we're doing here with our seeds. I was thinking I was putting them up, but we have 24 coneflower, spike tomato, mint, sunny ginger. We are good on, and I don't see any ice melon currently, so we are going to continue harvesting for this. Once again, you could also T-point in ice melon seeds ahead of time, but it's just best to go ahead and get these seeds farmed up now. And another thing I would like to mention is just that some people will say you don't need to farm up the seeds, you just need to farm up the ingredients and put them in your fridge. You can do that. I'm not sure on the expiration time on the fridges now. I do know a lot of ingredients have had their timers extended a major amount. I'm just not sure on how many days it is, so you do need to just see how many days they will expire in the fridge and time it out to where you're in phase 2 and actually able to turn it into stew. So you can go ahead and just gather the materials as well. You don't have to gather the seeds if you're not in the planting. I really like the farming system, but with that is ice melons, and that is all of the materials that you're actually going to need. The next thing we're going to cover real quickly is just a really good Chaosium heart run. I am going to go ahead and have to get some ammo crafted up, so I will see you in just a minute. I'm probably going to try for some ice melon seeds just a little longer here though, so I'll see you in just a second. Alrighty, so this is another update situation thing here. So I have noticed there are a lot more shadow enemies dispersed throughout the area, so another thing you actually want to do is head over to your task and look for the task titled Deviation Gazuchio. You could also transfer one of these guys in if you have played Way of Winter before and you have one, but you will need one of these guys because they actually create a flashlight. So you actually obtain this from Wishland, so I'm just going to go ahead and run through this quest. It's super duper easily. It pretty much just takes you to Wishland. You go there and it shows you him just standing there. You talk to him or something like that, and then it allows you to capture him, and boom, you got a Gazuchio. Once you got this guy, he's actually going to produce flashlights that will actually allow you, when you flash them at the shadow enemies, to actually deal damage to them without having to attract them to lights or anything like that. This is going to be more important in phase 2. I already know, especially seeing how many shadow enemies I've already seen in Frostforge alone. I cannot imagine doing a higher level area and running into a shadow enemy and getting absolutely obliterated. So please, for the love of all goodness, go get yourselves a Deviation Gazuchio. We're going to go ahead and grab this guy now, because I'm going to make sure I have this guy and have him in a deviation cell making me flashlights, because it's going to be a little bit more important in this newer version of Way of Winter. And as you can see here, it's so simple. You just follow the guy down, and bang, he's now gonna be yours. Just finish your conversation with him. I really like that it shows like a little NPC guy before you actually capture this guy. Overall, a pretty cool little side quest, and bang, we have him. So we're gonna go throw him in a cell now, and then I'm gonna go ahead and get onto that Frostforge farm we were talking about. Alrighty, here we are at the Frostforge Tower. I need to show the map every time. There you go, right here, guys. So I've actually mentioned this in the previous video for the Chaosium Hearts farm guide, and that's kind of what we're going to end this with. That's the final thing you really need to be farming in Phase 1 while you wait on Phase 2. Once you have your Tier 3 gear made, you have both a cold set and a hot set for your chest piece and your pants. What you really need to be focusing on next, once your gear is done and you got yourself leveled up, that's one other thing I want to mention is, technically the best level to reach by Phase 2 is level 35. The reason why level 35 is the best is because once commissions unlocked, you'll actually be able to use your commissions to get the final 5 levels. Super duper easy, no problem. And also there's still story stuff to do, and point of interest completions when you complete their quest actually give a substantial amount of XP. So you can also be doing point of interest and clearing their objectives, going to get their mysticals, things like that. There's guides out there to where all the mysticals are. There's also maps for the game, things like that, you know. All kinds of helpful resources for this game. Look at that, it's right over there, but we're not going to get to that, so we're just going to keep going. So, like I said, this is my favorite farm area for the game, though, overall. This is a super easy way of farming Chaosium Hearts. So, like I said, once you have everything else done, even if you're not level 40, you can go ahead and start farming the Chaosium Hearts here. Because farming the Chaosium Hearts here is actually a good way of getting XP. Now, another great way of getting XP extremely quickly, if you're looking for a brute force method, and it is the way you farm the tar pudding, which, like I said, gives mixed fuel, is tree ant. So I mentioned that earlier, and yeah, so this is just my favorite area overall. Every enemy is like 70 XP. There's a ton of materials here. This is technically the highest level area that should be unlocked in Phase 1 of Way of Winter. At least it's of the original Way of Winter. This was the highest area that was unlocked. Currently it's full map on the test version, but once again, we're all thinking that's just a bug. It shouldn't actually be full map. It's just because it's a test server and they didn't do a phase limit or something. The other reason why I love doing this run is because this cave here is actually full of aluminum and tungsten ore, and while you can't currently smelt it in Phase 1, and it is just like a one and done for the ore respawns with the chest actually in this cave for some weird reason. The cold crystal actually respawns infinitely here, so you can just run through and kill elites and farm cold crystals and kill elites and farm cold crystals over and over and over here and farm up your Chaosium Hearts. Because as I've been saying, Chaosium Hearts is kind of like the last thing you can do in Phase 1. Go ahead and get your Chaosium Hearts farmed up. Go ahead and ask around on the world and see what tower or what Chaosium hubs people are actually feeding to and on what world, and go to that proper world and feed it to the proper tower, because some towers will have like hundreds, and if you're putting like 10 in there, you'd rather put 10 into a tower that has like 400 already than put it into a tower that has 0 already and you're just putting 10 in. Unless of course you're going to boost your own hub and you want to just do all hubs. I guess you can try it, but I would try and go with this flow of the server. Especially just, you know, how many PLAs are actually playing on the server. We will see with how this goes, but the main thing is it's for summoning Chaos Weavers. The other thing is if you get 150 of these, you can actually lower the temperature in a region by, I think it's like 10 points or 20 points or something like that. I think it goes up with the amount of hearts you give. So farming hearts is always going to be important, because even if you're not going to be summoning Weavers, you can lower temperature. There's also perks on the Chaosium hub, so there's just plenty of reasons to be doing this Chaosium farm or Chaosium Heart farm right here. Now, I don't have any Molotovs, so we're just going to take a look at the ice crystals, and I do believe I'm going to go ahead and get out of here with this video. This has been pretty much all of the tips I have for Phase 1. The other thing is, like I said, you can go ahead and get your coneflower farmed up. You could possibly even be growing it and storing it in your fridge, but you're not going to unlock the mimetic perk to actually make breeding boost until Phase 2 anyway. So yeah, and as I said, all of these ice rock crystals here, they're all Chaosium Hearts. Any elites in this area are all Chaosium Hearts, though technically you can do any point of interest run, and for a brute force XP method, there is always tree ant. There's also the blueberry soda method, which is the best way of getting your EO cap and leveling. It's actually how I plan on leveling all of my alts, is with blueberry sodas, because it's just a passive leveling method. They will be growing even while you're playing the game, so you can go level other ways, and as a solo player you can actually level a lot quicker with it. But when you're using many accounts like me, it's a little more difficult. And like I said, Gasuchi is now made, so we will be able to deal with these shadow enemies in the future. But for now, we are just going to avoid those guys like the plague. But I am out of here, guys. Go ahead and leave a like on the video if you did enjoy it, and keep it beast mode.